Hey everybody, welcome to Home with the Halsteads and welcome to my kitchen. Today we're going to be making M&M cookies. Doug and I visited some friends over the weekend and we've not seen them in a very long time, and we were talking about my cookbook and we were talking about recipes and Christmas, and so Carolyn shared her M&M recipe with me. She said she had had this recipe for 58 years. So it's not going to be your traditional recipe that you find on the back of the package of M&Ms, although I know that's a good one too, but this one's a little different. So let me tell you how we're going to make it, what we're going to put in it. We're starting out with 1 cup of solid shortening, and today I'm using the Crisco stick. It comes in little packs like this, or you can use that in a can and just measure it out. But 1 cup of Crisco shortening, 1 cup of light brown sugar, 1 cup of light brown sugar, 1/2 cup of white granulated sugar, 1/2 cup of white granulated sugar, 2 teaspoons of vanilla, and I'm using the clear vanilla because that's what I use and I love it. 2 eggs, and that's going to be mixed together. Then we're going to add our dry ingredients, and I'm using 2 1/4 cups of plain, which is all-purpose flour. I sifted that and I measured it. 2 1/2 cups of flour. To that, I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of salt and 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and then I'm going to re-sift, mix all of my dry ingredients together. And then I'm going to add 1.5 cups of little M&Ms, and it's Christmas time and they have the little green and red ones. So festive, festive, festive. And we're going to make these cookies and they're going to be delicious, and I'll be back in just a minute and we'll get started. Before we start making our cookie dough, I have a correction to make. In my introduction, I said 2 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour, and then I said 2 1/2 cups of all-purpose flour. Well, it's 2 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour, 2 1/4 cups. So I just wanted to clarify that before we get started. I have a lot going on, and that is no excuse for a mistake, but with all of my book sales and trying to keep these videos going for you, sometimes I just mess up, so I apologize. So we're starting out with our solid Crisco shortening, and that's 1 stick or 1 cup of Crisco shortening. To that, I'm going to add our brown sugar, and that's 1 cup of brown sugar and 1/2 cup of white granulated sugar. I'm going to go ahead and add our vanilla. I'm going to put 2 teaspoons of vanilla before I start mixing this together, just to kind of speed the process, and this doesn't take but just a minute to make. So now I'm using my electric hand mixer, and I'm combining or mixing our Crisco shortening, solid shortening, and our sugars and vanilla together. I love to make cookies, and cookies is a food or an item that you can make with your children, with your grandchildren, with the whole family. It can just become a family affair, a cookie affair. You can have fun in the kitchen together. These freeze really well. I love to have cookies and little bite-sized snacks in my freezer, so that when Doug wants his afternoon cup of coffee, I can just go to the freezer, pull something out, let it fall. And sometimes I eat it frozen. I can eat a frozen cookie or a candy bar or anything like that. It's just so good. But it's good to have on hand. Okay, so now we have our sugars combined. I'm going to go ahead and add our eggs while I'm mixing. Just mix that around. And that's 2 eggs. I'm going to swap hands here. And now I'm going to start adding our dry ingredients, our flour, our baking soda, and our salt that I have sifted together. I'm just mixing it around. I love this little hand mixer. I love my stand mixer as well. I use it a lot. Just mixing it up. And there we have all of our flour added. I'm slinging dough again. Okay. So now I'm going to add my M&Ms to my cookie dough. You could save some if you wanted to and put them on top, decorate your cookies however you like. But I like to incorporate mine into the dough because it kind of spreads the flavor out throughout the cookie. And I'm going to mix this by hand. Let me swap off here and get my spoon. So I'm just going to stir these in and mix it around. And if, like I said, if you wanted to save some and put on top of your cookies and decorate them like that, you could do that as well. But I'm just mixing it up. And there we have our cookie dough that's ready to drop. So let me get all straightened out here and organized again. And we're going to use a cookie sheet, an ungreased cookie sheet. And I'm going to drop these with a teaspoon. So, and I hope you can see this. So I'm just going to get a teaspoon and I'm going to drop the cookie dough onto the sheet. I like to cook about a dozen at a time. And my oven, I have preheated it to 350 degrees. And I'm going to bake for 10 to 12 minutes. Now, one thing that I have noticed through the years when I make cookies, my first batch, I have to cook probably a minute to a minute and a half longer, but I think it's because the cookie sheet is cold when I put it in the oven, and once you make that first batch and your cookie sheet is warm, then it doesn't take as long for the next batch, probably a minute less. So I'm going to put these in the oven, and when they get done, I'll be back and we'll look at our cookies. Our first batch of cookies are done. They're ready to come out of the oven, and I'm going to take them out, finish baking the rest of them, and I'll be back. Okay, our cookies are done. I have another batch in the oven. You can probably see them there, and I'm excited, and I've already had one. I just can't wait. You probably do the same thing when you make cookies. Just cannot wait to taste one, but I'm going to taste another one with you. So I'm just going to get one and come right over. I hope that you'll make some really soon for your family and friends and enjoy it with a good glass of milk or a good cup of coffee, some hot cider. That'd be delicious too. That is so good. That's really good. I hope you'll make some. Have a blessed day. Don't forget to share our recipe. I'll see you again really, really soon.